Well, hello there, everyone. Today is Monday. It's Labor Day, September the 5th. Hopefully, you're doing well. If you're a working person, you may have a 3-day weekend. And if you are working, congratulations. And I'm proud of you for working. I used to work a lot of holidays when I was a police officer. Anyway, as always, I'm not a financial advisor, attorney, CPA, etc. And I was just working outside around the pool just a tiny bit, so I'm a little sweaty. So I just threw this shirt on. It's unbuttoned, but you can't see me. So anyway, hopefully you're doing outstanding. Anyway, I just want to make this video. I don't think it'll be too long, but what I'm going to encourage you to think about, as always, it's my humble opinion, because I'm not a financial advisor, is to focus primarily on, let's say, two things in regards to your money. Those two things are cash producing assets, number one, and giving for number two. All right, I'll repeat that. Cash producing assets for number one, giving is number two. I'll explain giving first, because I think just by saying cash producing assets, you can probably guess at what I'm going to talk about. But giving, we're all human beings. We're all people. We need to give back in some fashion. All of us. If you're watching this, I mean you. All of us need to give back somehow. How do we do that? Sometimes we don't have money. When I was a cop for 20 years, raising two kids, I did not have any extra money to give back. What I did was I gave time. I referenced organizing a literacy event. I didn't get paid for a lot of that extra time I worked. I was giving back. Yes, I got paid for some of it, but I didn't get paid for all of it. I was giving back. I went into prisons, jails, and detention centers on my own time many times. But I would go in uniform sometimes, but I wasn't always paid because they didn't always know what I was doing when I was off. So then I donated time. And I also risked my life sometimes because being in uniform inside a prison. I'll tell you a quick little story, then I'll get to giving. I was walking through a class 3 medium security prison one day with a librarian, pulling the dolly of books, because I donated books to all these places, when a bell rang. And it appeared to my eyes that thousands of prisoners started coming out into the courtyard where I was walking. My mind pictures movies, seeing courtyards and fights and knives and shanks and etc., etc. Here I am in a police uniform, minus my gun belt, minus anything in my pockets, any weapons whatsoever, because I couldn't carry anything in there. As you can tell, I made it through safely. So anyway, I like doing that because I was trying to give back to folks who are locked up and kids who are locked up, people in jail locked up. I'll tell you more stories in future videos, perhaps, maybe. So anyway, back to giving. We all need to give something. When I was in the Navy, I started it then because they looked for volunteers to read to an elementary school class. This was when I was in Puerto Rico. I started doing that. That continued when I was a police officer. I read to probably hundreds, if not 1,000 different elementary school classes in uniform, got paid for it, but I was trying to think outside the box to give back. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to give back. With this channel, I've said before, I would love to get monetized on this channel, but I know I have a long way to go and odds are I never will, and I'm accepting that. So I'm trying to give back to all of you. Give back to all of you. I recently resigned from my mastermind group that I had. For one reason, I felt I was all tapped out. I had tried to provide information for as long as we've had that group. I think I provided too much information. I think folks were tired of hearing the same rigmarole. I don't think I was pulling my weight there. I think I was just repeating the same stuff over and over, and they were tired of hearing it. So that wasn't the best bang for my buck. So I recently resigned from that group. I no longer participate in it as of just the other day. I am going to attend my first local real estate meetup group this week. And I am giving my time because I'm not getting paid to go there. And actually, it costs to join this real estate meetup group. I discourage you from paying to join a group. It should be free or very low cost. This is like $125 a year. It is what it is. That's why I haven't joined yet. I didn't want to pay that money, but I'm going to pay it because I need to make some local contact. But I want to try to give back to that group by sharing my story as time goes on. Perhaps not at the first meeting, but as time goes on. All right, so moving on. So anyway, whoever you are, Try to give back either monetarily, donate to a legitimate good cause charity, because so many charities are scams. Okay, find a good one. If you got the extra money, donate to them. If you don't have the extra money, try to figure out how you can donate time. Contact a local elementary school, maybe a preschool or kindergarten class. Ask if you can read to them. But you got to give back, because there is such thing as karma. Okay, you got to give, and maybe some good stuff come back to you. All right, so moving on. Cash producing assets. What I talk about a lot is real estate. That's a cash producing asset. It's an investment you make. You buy a rental property and it produces cash for you. It produces rents. Okay, those rents, you have positive cash flow. So that, I need to stretch. So that positive cash flow is a cash producing asset. If you invest in stocks, and I've talked about stock investing, I was a high growth stock investor for many years. I started in mutual funds in 1990, went into individual stocks in 1999. That's when I got into high growth, primarily tech stocks from 1999 to 2020. And I'm basically out of all tech stocks. I am out of all tech stocks right now. All right. Afternoon cup of mud water. So anyway, if you're one of those folks and you have tech stocks, or you have an S&P 500 fund, or you have a 401k at your workplace, or 457. If you have a 401 or 457, I encourage you, try to only get the match. My humble opinion, only get the match. Like if your employer is giving you 3% or 5%, put in enough to get the full match, because you're doubling your money. And don't put extra in. Take the extra. This is just an encouragement, a thought, a suggestion, my thoughts. And if you're not buying real estate, or even if you are buying real estate and you want to supplement it, let's say you have an S&P 500 fund and you're supplementing it, I encourage you, even though the market is down right now, the market's down for everything right now, I encourage you, sell your stocks. All right, sell the high growth stocks, sell the S&P 500 fund, sell your high tech growth stocks, that sort of thing. And don't take the money out. Keep the money invested, especially if it's in a Roth or an IRA. If it's in a brokerage account, maybe think about moving into real estate. But if it's in a Roth or something, and you're not going to move it into a self-directed Roth to buy more real estate, because that is my number one choice if I have money. If I have enough money in my Roth to pay cash for a house, me personally, I'd move it into a self-directed IRA and buy a rent-producing house, a positive cash flow house in my self-directed IRA, because I think it would beat stocks, okay? But with that being said, if I had money in my stock account, my Roth stocks, and I was planning to keep it there, I think we're moving into a time period where growth stocks may be out of favor. Sure, you're going to have some days when the market's up. Sure, you're going to have some time periods when the market's up. But I think as a whole, the high growth of yesterday might be past. No guarantees. I would look at, and I've said this before in videos, dividend aristocrats, dividend kings. Dividend aristocrats, dividend kings. Dividend aristocrats have increased their dividend for 25 years consecutively at least. Kings have increased their dividend for at least 50 years. Okay? Personally, I look at the aristocrats more so because my brain, the way it thinks is, if it's been doing it for more than 50 plus years already, how much longer is their run? I mean, it may be a long time, but let's be real. How many companies last that long? I don't know. I don't know that answer. I haven't studied that. I don't know. But I would probably go personally with dividend aristocrats more so. And because what I've done, I helped some other folks buy stocks. And there's one individual I helped buy dividend aristocrats a year and a half ago, roughly. And I was looking at her portfolio recently. It's the mother of somebody who watches my videos. And I'll tell this young person to watch this video so he knows I'm talking about his mother. And he normally watches my channel anyway. But those dividend stocks, when I was looking at it, I liked what I saw. The stock market is down since I bought those stocks. So a lot of the share prices are down since I bought those stocks. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Some are up. The oil ones, I bought Chevron and ExxonMobil in those accounts, and they're both up, okay? So, but the other stocks, I don't remember them all off the top of my head. I think Colgate's in there, PPG, Palmolive, whatever it is, Procter & Gamble, I think they're in there. IBM might be in there, Altria, something else might be in there. What was the other one I was thinking of? There's a medical one I got in there. But anyway, they're all dividend paying stocks that I got in there. And I put roughly $3,000 into each company. Okay, so I didn't buy just one share or two shares. I bought whatever $3,000 would buy, I bought that. Probably for, what was it, a dozen stocks maybe. But looking it over, the best performing one, I think I had bought 45 shares. And now this person owns 47 and some fraction amount of shares. So they've gone up by 2 shares. They've picked up 2 more shares. Other investments they've gone up by maybe by 1 share, or maybe it's 7/10 of a share, or 1.3 shares. Excuse me. Remember, I only invested $3,000. I didn't invest, say, $10,000 in each company, $3,000. It's a smaller investment, but here's the beauty of it. And I better understand this now than I did back when I was a high-tech investor, when I've been investing in stocks all those years. Because I never invested in dividend-paying stocks per se all these years. Apple did start paying us a dividend while I held it, but I didn't focus on the dividend. I was focusing on the growth. With the dividend now, this is what happens. I'll give you that example. At one company that I bought 45 shares of, when I first bought it, it was paying a dividend on 45 shares. That company, I may be remembering this wrong, but I think this is the one. I think it was a real estate investment trust, ticker symbol O. All right, it's a real estate investment trust. It may not be the one that's done this well, but it might be. They actually pay a dividend monthly. All right, so every month. Most dividend stocks are quarterly, some are semi-annual, but this one's monthly. And maybe this month they're paying on 45 shares. Maybe next month they're paying on, I'll make numbers up, 45.1 shares. So the dividend on 45.1 shares is a little bit more than 45 shares. Fast forward it almost a year and a half. There's now 47 and some fraction amount of shares. The dividend on 47, let's say 47 and a half shares is more than the dividend on 45 shares. So that means they're buying a larger percentage of the stock if the stock price stayed the same. I think on the majority of these, not all of them, stock price has gone down, which means the dividend is now buying more shares at a better price than it did originally. All right. I have not done the math. I've seen the math done somewhere online. There's some dividend calculator online. I've seen this. But my way of looking at it, if it's a stock paying 4.5%, 5% dividend, it's not as good as real estate. I get 20, 30, 40% of my real estate investments. But let's just say I don't want to invest in real estate, or I want a portion of my portfolio in dividend paying stocks. If I get 4.5 to 5% dividend, currently that's not as good as inflation, but historically it's better than inflation. All right. As time goes on, I'm getting more shares. So my return is getting better and better and better. What I've studied and read is that if you hold a good dividend paying stock that continues to increase its dividend, like the dividend aristocrats and kings do, after 10, 15, maybe 20 years, maybe some of the better ones, maybe 10 and up to 20, your dividends are now probably, not guaranteed, paying you more than what you originally paid for the shares. Okay, now how can that be? Let's say I'll make something up because I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. If that one company we bought 45 shares of, let's say the share price I bought at was $65 a share. I do remember looking at it, the very first dividend each month, I think it was a month, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a month, was $10 and some cents a month. Okay, not a lot, you can't live off that, but it's something. Fast forward to August when the last dividend was paid, and it was $11 and some cents. Okay, because now I have more shares. Plus, I think they increased their dividends sometime since we've held that stock. If they want to maintain their aristocrat status, they have to increase it every year. I don't know what day they increase, but every year they have to increase it to stay a dividend aristocrat. If they don't, if they keep the dividend the same after a year, they reduce it, they're out. They're no longer a dividend aristocrat. Okay, so these companies want to keep increasing it as long as they can afford to. All right, so think about it without doing the math, we don't need to do the math. You think about it, and if your dividend goes up every year, after maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, your shares that you own increase. And if this one example was at 45 and now it's at 47 and a half shares after a year and a half, what's going to be after 10 years? Will that portfolio have 50 shares, 60 shares, 70 shares? If the dividend was 25 cents today, in 10 years, will it be 30 cents, 35 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents? I don't know. We can't predict the future. But if you pick good quality dividend stocks that pay a good dividend and they are increasing every year, even if they're not quite an aristocrat, but say they've done it for 15 years or 20 years, they're heading in the direction of being an aristocrat. Or if you pick any of the aristocrats, there's like 65 of them, and you start buying them, as time goes on, if they keep increasing their dividend, you will eventually be making more money each quarter. I don't know if it'll be monthly, but each quarter, than what you bought the shares for, perhaps. All right. So it's pretty cool. If you want to create a family fortune, if you want to have investments that you can live off of, you can live off of rental income. I own real estate right now. I'm living off that rent. I own oil drilling. I own mineral rights acreage. I'm living off royalties. I have a couple dividend paying stocks, but I'm not living off them. I'm reinvesting them into the companies that I have. I only have two. I have a very small amount of stocks, but I have IBM, which is a tech company, but it pays a dividend. And I have ABBV, ticker symbol, I think. ABBV, I think. Don't hold me to that. It's a young type pharmaceutical company. Not a big name, but I'm familiar with them a little bit, but I forget off the top of my head what they do. All right, so what did I just say? 3, 4, let's say minerals. Oil, mineral rights is one. Energy is one. You can live off the returns. Rental property is another. You can live off the returns. Dividends, you can live off the returns. You can get interest. Usually you think of interest from a bank. You can't, if you got $20 million in the bank, yes, you can live off the interest perhaps, but for most of us, we don't have much money in the bank, so interest rates are too low right now, so you can't, almost never can you live off the interest, but it is income producing, okay? And there's another way. I've never invested in options, but there is a way with options. I think it's puts. You can buy puts that will pay you a cash dividend or something, income every month. So that's a way if you hold certain stocks. And I'm not an expert on this at all. I never did this, okay? There are people at the Motley Fool that do this. You can hold certain stocks and sell the put, sell the call, whatever it is, and get maybe a monthly type income. All right. But if you start today and you're 22 years old, you're 30 years old, you're 40 years old, and you focus on income producing assets, rental property is a big one. Dividend paying stocks is a smaller one. Oil drilling or mineral rights acreage is a big one, but you got to be accredited, worth at least $1 million. That may go up over time to participate in those. Options, it's a learning curve if you want to learn options. You can go to the Motley Fool. They'll teach you about it, not me. I can't teach you about it because I've never done it. I may try at some point, but I've never done it. All right. Crypto, for the most part, does not produce income. All right. Growth stocks do not produce income. The S&P 500, yes, it has dividends, but they're usually automatically reinvested if it's a fund. Do not necessarily produce income. All right. I encourage all of you, think about income producing assets and think about it to live off of eventually if you're not ready to be financially independent. But also think about if you're living off them, you're not selling them. All right, normally to live off stocks, you're selling them. So you're not selling them, but you're living off the returns, the dividends, the rents. You're living off that. So when the day comes and you pass away, because all of us will pass away, your heirs can inherit what you have. And as long as you've taught them correctly and they know what to do, they can also live off that income. They might have to tweak it occasionally, sell a house, sell a stock, buy a house, they tweak it occasionally. They can live off of it, and then they can pass it on to their heirs. Okay? See what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you? Did you stick around to the end? If you stuck around to the end, please click the thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please feel free to comment. Okay? Comments, thumbs up, and subscribers will help to share my message more with others, because the YouTube algorithm will perhaps share it with more people, and maybe they'll click on it and they'll watch this video or some other video. All right, so y'all take care, stay safe. I'm going to finish my mud water, and then I'm going to head out, start the process to go for my afternoon swim. After the swim is over, I'll have a cup of decaffeinated green tea and maybe a little snack. About that time, then it's almost going to be time for dinner. And then it's my evening walk, and then watch the little baseball's on right now. Orioles are playing a doubleheader. I'll watch the Orioles game mixed in there. Netflix maybe tonight, and then it's bed, then it's another day. That's the life of being financially independent. All right, y'all take care. Stay safe. Maskies signing out.